Often it may feel difficult to even ask for help, right? So we do want to share some meaningful ways and have meaningful conversations about mental health with loved ones. And joining us live this morning is Dr. Thea Gallagher. She's a clinical psychologist and assistant professor at NYU Langone Health. So Dr. Gallagher, welcome back. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here, really, because, these topics are so important to talk about. And there's such a spotlight right now on mental health. It feels like it's being spoken about more and more, and that's a good thing. So let's start with this. What can people do first to assess really where they're at and decide whether or not they even need to seek help?
Yeah, so, we're really bad at, kind of being historians of our own health and mental health. So it's really good to start monitoring because sometimes you don't even know that you've been feeling bad for like a significant period of time. And when you start writing it down, like, okay, I felt sad like 3 times today, or I didn't want to get out of bed, or I felt, again, more irritable. I think it's really good to get that assessment by every day, just kind of keeping track of your mental health. You can even rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. How bad did I feel? If 10's the worst, 1 is like your best day. Where was I at? And if you have more days above 5, you might want to start to think, okay, I probably need to do something about this.
Yeah. And once you figure out where you are, it can either be a pride thing or you just don't want to be a burden to anyone. It can be really difficult to let our loved ones know, and let them in on what we're going through. So how can you kind of initiate this conversation and let your loved ones know? You know what? I think I need help.
I really think it's important to put yourself in their shoes because it's so interesting. It's so hard for us to ask for help. But if someone else asked us for help, we would want to help them and we'd want to know and we'd do whatever we could to make their lives better. So I think you have to remember, even though it feels so hard to ask for help, wouldn't you want your loved ones to ask you for help if you needed it? And so you have to look at yourself just like you would look at anyone else. But for some reason, it's so much more difficult because we feel that pride or that vulnerability or shame. And it's really important to take a step and ask for help anyway, even in spite of feeling those feelings.
Right. Yeah. And I always say, even there's no reason to feel that shame because somewhere someone else is going through the same darn thing, right? But doctor, I was just talking to my friends about this yesterday, about some people will say, oh, I feel anxious or I feel depressed or whatever. And they're, oh, what's the cause? Right. And then you start thinking about it and you're like, oh, I don't know what the cause is. And you can't audibly describe it, right? But you know that there's something going on. And so I think a lot of people just say, well, since I can't describe it, I'm going to turn it off and just pretend it's not there. How do you address that?
Yeah, I think for some reason it's so important for people to find like an acute reason or this is the reason why I'm feeling this way. And I mean, what I'm telling people now is just take a look around you, turn the news on for a couple minutes. Like we have a million reasons why we could be feeling this way. And we don't know if it's one of them or all of them. Or sometimes it's like, the winter doldrums, it's your life events. It could also be, your chemical makeup. It could be a million things. But I think when you're fixating on the cause, I think look at the symptoms instead and say, you know what, I don't even know what's causing this, but I feel bad and I want to do something about it and I need help.
Is that good for the person who's asking, right? So if I'm asking you, well, what exactly, it's a reflection on us too as the helper to not ask that question, to pinpoint it, right? So what should you be asking?
Absolutely. I think, again, focus on the symptoms as well. If it's for yourself or for someone else, say, how can I help? What do you need? Just because, even if you can't change what's happening in the world right now, none of us can change what's happening in the world. And that could be impacting our mental health. But instead, I think we still need support in the small ways. We still need connection. We still need people who care and who want to listen and who can help us.
Yeah, I think that's the scary part, though, about being in the role of the helper, that what if I say the wrong thing? What if I say, what do you mean you don't know what's causing this? How can we really be an ally then to that person who's sharing their feelings when they don't really even know what's going on?
Well, I always think about, when you're grieving or when someone's grieving, like, what do you want to hear? You don't necessarily want someone to come in and say, like, I'm going to bring this person back from the dead or I'm going to solve this problem for you. What you want to hear is, how can I help? I'm here for you. And you want someone to stick around and to keep doing that.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the real key. It's when friends reach out and say, how are you? And they do it multiple times a week or they do it multiple times a month or, hey, can I do anything to help you? Or they buy you a Starbucks gift card or they, reach out, they do something. I think instead, sometimes we get so overwhelmed by not knowing the right thing that we do nothing. And that's the worst thing you can do. So I would say just start small. Ask, be available, and you don't have to. You can't probably fix these huge problems, but you can help in small ways.
Yeah, yesterday, again, I was with my friends yesterday, and somebody said, oh, I came up in conversation. Someone said, oh, have you gone to a therapist? And so I guess for a person who is going through some kind of mental issue or mental health issue and knows that there's something going on, at what point do you realize that you need to maybe go and talk to someone, right? Because that's the daunting, scary task of like verbalizing it and saying it and realizing it and recognizing it. How do you know when that point is?
Yeah, this is a question that people ask all the time, and you don't ask it when you're thinking about your physical symptoms, right? You're not like, when do I go to the doctor to get this checked out? Like, you hurt, something bothers you, and you're like, and a lot of people say, let me just go see what's going on with this. But with mental health, for some reason, we've made it more complex or complicated, or, even I think we get too deep about it. If you're feeling like you're suffering or struggling, and it's, and you want to see if there's anything that you can do about it, like, go to a trusted professional, because that's what we're there to do, is to help you unpack it. And what's the worst that happens? You go and the therapist is like, you know what, you're just totally fine. Good luck, and it still would be helpful. So I think sometimes people make that a little bit too much of a overwhelming, thing to commit. So you're not committing the rest of your life. You could go for a few sessions. You could go for an evaluation. But I think if you're feeling like, you know what, I'm suffering or struggling, maybe more than I would prefer, time to go talk to a therapist.
Yeah. What about if there's somebody that you think may be going through something, but they're just too strong and, they've got the ego surrounding them and they don't want to admit that something is wrong? How do you approach them as, somebody that wants to help? What kind of questions do you ask them so that, they don't feel bad about speaking to you and being open about what's going on?
I would say really use your own experiences, because people can very quickly feel judged or, dismissed or, again, just negatively judged. And that shame is so real for mental health. Yeah. So I think use your own experiences. How are you doing with this situation? What's going on with this? I know when I went through that was really difficult for me. Sometimes sharing, if you are going to see a therapist, like, hey, I've been seeing a therapist lately, has really been helping me. Right. Or I've been finding that this form of self-care has been really good for my mental health. Or, I know you haven't been out been social lately. I'm just wanting to see how things are going. Or I know you have, a lot of kids, or, your new job. How is that going? So I think being, to quote from Ted Lasso, being curious and not judgmental is really the place to start. And then that's what I think it's really it's good to get there. And remembering, people don't care how much until they know how much you care. So kind of making sure that you share that part.
Yeah. And getting uncomfortable with the discussion too, right? That phrase, I don't know, like, what's wrong? I don't know. I know, I don't know. And like, being okay with that, being in that I don't know world, it's just so powerful too. Dr. Gallagher, we love you. You're always welcome back.
Yeah, I love being here. Anytime.
Yeah, thanks so much for your time.